Brave Fawn and the Thunderstorm asterisk. Nia was a spring-born fawn, with ears like soft leaves and legs as thin as willow twigs. She lived at the bright edge of the pine and meadow, where clover grew like tiny stars, and a brook stitched the land with silver thread. In the warm hours, she chased sundots and practiced careful leaps over fallen branches. In the cool hours, she nibbled sweet grass beside her mother and listened to the wood doves sow their lullabies into the evening. There was only one thing Nia did not love about the world. She did not love thunder. She did not love how it arrived without knocking, how it took a simple gray cloud and puffed it into a heavy sky, how it rolled across the hills like a deep drum no one could turn down. Thunder was too big. Thunder made Nia's legs feel like wind and her breath feel like a lost feather. Someday you will learn its song, her mother would say, brushing Nia's forehead with a velvet nose. Thunder is the mountain's heartbeat far away. It is loud, yes, but it does not bite. Nia wanted to believe it, but when the first far-off rumble stretched a long paw across the afternoon, her chest tightened the way clover buds close before rain. That day the air felt different, as if the world were holding its breath. The brook was lower, whispering small thoughts. A hawk circled once and slid toward the deeper woods. Light changed from bright lemon to soft pewter. A few tall pines shivered, and the meadow answered with a hush. Nia lifted her head. Somewhere beyond the hill, a low sound rolled like a barrel. She startled. The sound faded, but the feeling did not. It stayed in her ribs like a pebble in a shoe. Is it coming here? She asked the brook. The brook lapped a smooth stone and spoke in its small, even way. Perhaps. Storms wander as clouds teach them. When they visit, I drink. When they leave, I sing. Nia tried to swallow the pebble feeling. Another rumble closer, round her. She sprang to her feet and trotted to the circle of wild mint where the meadow hare liked to nap. Tallo, she called. Did you hear? Tallo's ears rose like to question marks. He peered at the clouds, sniffed, and twitched his whiskers. Hear what? Oh, that? Another roll passed overhead, as if a giant had pushed a cart across the sky. The drum, Nia whispered. Drums can be danced to, Tallo said. But he had already slipped back into the mint. Which made him braver or sleepier, Nia wasn't sure which. A breeze slid down from the pine ridge. It smelled like cool stone and wet bark, like the inside of a quiet cave. The wine guide arrived without footsteps, as wind always does, and curled near Nia's trembling knees. You are listening very hard, the wine guide said in a voice you hear more in your fur than in your ear. I am trying not to be afraid, Nia said. That is like trying not to see blue when the sky is full of it, said the wine guide kindly. What if you tried something else? Try being with your fear for a little while, the way a leaf is with the branch. How? Nia asked, and her question was almost a squeak. The wine guide traced a circle round her. When thunder speaks, we will practice the for quiets, it said. Feet quiet, breath quiet, eyes quiet, mind quiet. Nia folded her legs beneath her until her hooves rested in the clover. The clover pressed back, cool and certain. Feet quiet, she repeated. Now, said the wine guide, let your breath be like the brook on a calm hour. In small river, out small river, it hummed a low line. Nia matched it, letting air slide in and out, until her chest felt less like a fast bird and more like a little boat. Another rumble traveled the skin of the world. Nia flinched, but she stayed folded. Eyes quiet, murmured the wine guide. Choose one gentle thing to look at. Hold it softly with your seeing. Nia found a dew bead lodged in a blade of grass that somehow had not noticed the dry morning. It cradled a whole tiny meadow upside down. She watched it balance perfect, patient, and mind quiet, said the wine guide. Listen for the space between sounds. You think thunder is all sound, but it is also space. The space is where your courage grows. Nia listened. A beetle clicked under a leaf. A jay traded opinions with a distant cousin. The meadow creaked its small, honest creaks. And under everything, like a hand beneath a blanket, There was a waiting. Light trembled, just a quick white breath stitched into the clouds. Nia saw it, but did not yet name it. Then the thunder rolled again, closer, like a round stone in a wooden bowl. She startled anyway. Her hooves nudged the clover. The dew bead fell and kissed the ground. I can't, Nia said. It is too big. It is big, agreed the wine guide. And you are small. But small is not the same as helpless. Let us learn thunder's manners. Do you see how sometimes the sky flashes before the sound arrives? Nia nodded, still breathing the brook breath. In, out. That is because light runs faster than sound, the wine guide said. The flash is the sky saying, I will clap now. The rumble is a clap. You can count breaths between them. One breath to breath. The more breaths, the farther away the clap happened. Nia dared a tiny count. The next time the sky flashed, one breath, two breath, then the air folded into thunder. The count sat in her like a small stair she could climb. She tried again, this time with her hoof pressing gently into the earth. The earth pressed back. She tried again, keeping her eyes on a bee threading a clover crown. Sometimes the breaths were two, sometimes four. The counting felt like catching onto a rope. Does it make the thunder stop? She asked. No, said the wine guide. It makes you steadier while thunder does its work. You do not control a river by yelling at it. You meet it with a good boat. I am only a fawn, Nia whispered. You are already a good boat, said the wine guide. You float on breath. The first raindrops arrived shyly, tapping pine needles with polite fingers. Nia's ears flicked at the sound. The smell came next, a green smell, a dark, warm smell rising from the path and the roots. The brook lifted its voice. Delighted dot, a bright seam stitched the sky from one hill to the other. Nia counted one breath, two breath, three thunder folded wider. A great sheet. She pressed her hoof into the ground. The ground did not move. Her breath poured like clear tea. The meadow hare popped up again. Mint stuck to his whiskers. Is the show starting? He asked, ears tuned. I think so, Nia said. Her voice surprised her. It didn't wobble the way it had. Tallo hopped closer. My grandmother said, thunder is sky's drum practice, and rain is the drumsticks cooling off. He looked at Nia's tucked legs. Are you hiding? I am learning the four quiets, Nia said, and something inside her made room for pride. Feet quiet, breath quiet, eyes quiet, mind quiet. Tallo tried folding himself, but his back feet kept wanting to play. What's mind quiet? Listening for the space, Nia said, and now she could almost smile. The rain gathered, graduating from taps to stitches to threads. It slipped through pine fingers and made little crowns on puddles. The world soft and at the edges. Colors deepened, the way moss looks greener when it is thinking. A lightning breath lit the clouds. Nia counted one breath, two, and the thunder came. Lower now, like a song sung into a wooden floor. She still felt the pebble in her chest, but it had changed shape. It was smoother, like something you could hold and not be hurt by. Do I have to love thunder? Nia asked the wine guide, who was making a clover bend in slow bows. You do not have to love everything that is part of the world, the wine guide said, but it helps to understand it. When you understand, you can choose a kinder place to stand. Where is the kindest place to stand during thunder? Nia asked, thinking of the open meadow and the tall lonesome oak on the far hill. Not under the tallest lonely tree, the wine guide said. Not out where the field makes you the tallest lonely thing. With your herd, under a nest of branches that are many together, or along the hillside where the pines crowd like friends. Places that share the sky's notice. Nia looked toward the thicket where her mother grazed with two ant does and the yearlings. Their backs were small boats too, rocking steadily, ears swiveling, breath calm. She wanted to be inside that togetherness. She wanted to bring her rope of counting and her for quiets and tie them into the herd's steady heart. Go, the wine guide said. I will travel with you. I am what moves between trees. They walked not in a hurry, because hurrying makes the world grainy and small, but also not slowly, because storms do not wait for deer to practice. Nia kept one hoof touching the path's smoothness, the other stepping. She matched her breaths to her steps steppin'. Step out hand, let the rain write cool commas along her back. Halfway there, a louder crash leapt from the hills, a sharp plate of sound. Nia's legs jumped before she could think. She sprang and landed in a little splash. Her breath jangled apart. "It is all right," said the wine guide, steady as a hand. "When the rope slips, you simply pick it up again." Feet quiet, Nia folded for 3 breaths, right there under a leaning alder. She let her hooves feel the cool wet soil, saying, "I am here. I am here." She found a drop of rain hanging from a needle and held it with her eyes. She listened to the space. The next thunder arrived, but now it fell farther the way a train feels when you know its tracks. "Yes," said the wind dash guide, that they reached the pines. The herd made room without making fuss. Nia tucked herself between her mother's warm flank and the ribbed bark of a generous trunk. The tree smelled like stories told in winter. "You came steady," her mother said, and that was all, which was enough. Rain made rivers on the bark. It pinged off leaves and softened into a sound like distant applause. Lightning breathed. Nia counted 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breath, 4th underside, and rolled, long and round. "It is still big," Nia said into her mother's shoulder. "Big things can be kind," her mother said, "and sometimes kind things are loud." The Owl Irro, whose eyes were lanterns made from night, shook rain from his head and set himself on a lower branch. He said in his library voice. "The young one practices." "I am trying," Nia said. "Practice makes paths," said Irro. "The first time through a forest, your legs make guesses. After many passes, the path remembers your hooves and helps them. Bravery is like that. You are making a path your fear will eventually prefer to walk." "How do you make fear prefer a path?" Nia asked, surprised into a small laugh. "You feed it maps," said Irro. "Your counting is 1 map. Your for quiets are another. Here is a 3rd. When the sky flashes, count to yourself and notice the number. Then tell your fear a fact. The clap is far. My herd is near. The pine is many. Facts taste like roots plain, but filling." Nia tried the root facts. The lightning breathed. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thunder rolled like a big wheel, reaching the bottom of a hill. "Far," she whispered. "My herd is near. The pine is many." The words sat in her like warm bread. Time does a special thing during rain. It loosens its belt. Minutes become puddles. You can see your face in them if you pause. Nia did not notice how long they stood, except that the world seemed to let out the breath it had been keeping. The rain softened. The thunder became stories told from another room. The brook, now plumped with sky water, sang a glossy song. The jays switched to gossip. The pines shook themselves and made glitter. A rabbit sneezed out a mint leaf. The light, which had been a pewter bowl, cleared to something like wash wool. Nia stepped from the nest of trunks and tasted the air. It was different than before, not scared, but clean. She found the place where her hoof had first splashed and looked at the crescent her jump had left. It had already softened. The ground forgets in a kind way. "Did I do it?" she asked the wine guide. "Did I become brave?" "You practice being with big sound," the wine guide said. "You learn the 4 quiets, the counting rope, the root facts, and where to stand. That is what bravery looks like from the inside. Breath doing its good work while the world does its loud work." Nia listened hard for the pebble in her chest. It was still there, but smaller now, more like a seed. Seeds do not go away. They grow into something with room for birds. "Next time," she said, and the words surprised her by sounding like a promise instead of a worry. "I will try to hear the drum in the thunder." "The drum," said Tallo, who had somehow found a dry patch under a fern and now pretended he had never been afraid of anything in his life. "Yes," Nia said, and she stamped 1 hoof softly, making a small beat on the path. If a drum can be danced to, maybe a storm can be learned like a song. Irro turned his head all the way around, like an old clock seeking the hour. The river of air carries many songs, he said. I will lend you one of mine when the next storm teaches. He fluffed his feathers, which made the rain pearls jump. Nia breathed in the cool, leaf-painted air. She felt taller without being taller. She glanced at the meadow, and the meadow glanced back, as if to say, now you know one more of my moods. That felt like being let in on a secret. Above the ridge, the sky split open to a bright patch of blue. A small lake hung upside down. Sun slid through and found 1,000 water beads to play on. Everything shone, even the thunder, far and small now, seemed to wave instead of growl. Nia took 3 slow steps into the open, then 3 light hops for the joy of legs that remembered how. She lowered her head and grazed. The grass tasted brighter than usual, as if the storm had washed the world's dishes and set the table again. Feet quiet, she whispered between bites. Breath quiet, eyes quiet, mind quiet. She did not need them urgently now. She said them like thank yous. A lark sprang up and stitched a fast song into the clearing sky. The brook's silver thread widened and glittered. The wine guide leaned against Nia's shoulder in the way wind leans there, and then not, but leaving you steadier because it had been. When the next storm comes, Nia said, and this time it was a warm thought. Will you practice with me again? I am always where leaves move, said the wine guide, and leaves move whenever a heart tries. Nia lifted her face to the pale, returning sun. The meadow breathed with her. Somewhere, thunder told a last old story to the farther hills. Here, the world hummed an after song. Nia was still a little fawn, with ears like leaves and legs like willow twigs. But inside, something taller had stood up and decided to stay. Asterisk the next day, the meadow where yesterday's storm like a shiny necklace. Every blade of grass held a glass bead. Spider webs became silver wheels. The brook laughed louder, as if it had discovered a joke only water knows. Nia stepped carefully through the glitter, lifting her small hooves and setting them down as if the earth were a soft drum. I slept with the 4 quiets, she told the morning. They tucked me in. The wine guide arrived as a cool ribbon that smelled like pine needles and damp bark. Good morning, student, it said. Are you ready for rain school? Nia tilted her ears. Is there really a school? Anything that visits often becomes a teacher, said the wine guide. Storms are regular visitors. Today we learn, before the thunder speaks. Nia's mother grazed nearby and raised her head. I will be close, she said. Call if you need the steadiness of the herd. I will, Nia promised, and the promise sat warm in her chest like tea. They started by the brook. Dragonflies stitched blue zippers in the air. Tadpoles wrote tiny commas near the shore. A frog the size of Nia's hoof blinked in a thoughtful way. This is Lodo, said the wine guide. He is a bellwether. Nia laughed a little. He doesn't look like a bell. Bellwether means early knower, said the wine guide. Watch him in fair weather and in storm weather. Frogs wear the barometer on their skin. What is a barometer? Nia asked. A listener for air pressure, said the wine guide. When the air grows heavy, frogs sing differently. When the air lifts, they leap differently. They can show us the storm's mood, the way your mother's air shows the herd's mood. Nia watched Lodo. He sat very still, and then the stillness rippled into 2 soft croaks. She tried to feel whether the air was heavy. It felt important, like something about to be announced. Good, murmured the wine guide. Feel the air and smell the smell. Storms announce themselves with perfume. Yesterday you smelled wet bark before you felt rain. Today, catch the first hint. Nia lifted her face. The meadow's perfume was fresh clover and sun-warmed mud, and mint breath from the patch where Tallo liked to nap. Beneath it, not yet strong, there was a dim smell like iron and stone. She kept it. What else does rain school teach? She asked. Shelters and paths, said the wine guide. Where to be, where not to be, and how to move without spilling your courage. They crossed to the pine ridge. Sun made a lattice on the ground. The wine guide leaned against a tall, lonely oak that stood apart from the others. It was a handsome tree with arms like antlers. This oak is a storyteller, said the wine guide. But during storms, it is not a good companion. Do you remember why? Nia nodded. You said, don't be the tallest lonely thing. Just so, said the wine guide. Tall and alone invites the sky to notice. It's a fine place for owls at twilight, not for fawns in thunder. They moved on to a thicket where many saplings grew together, their crowns knitting a green roof. A tunnel of bracken led to a cozy hollow. This is many together, said the wine guide. Branches share the sky's attention. Rain breaks into soft coins. Wine becomes a song instead of a shove. Remember places like this. Learn how to recognize them even with your eyes closed. Nia closed her eyes. She smelled fern and leaf tea and soil. She heard the hush that many small leaves make. She felt air that moved but did not push. She opened her eyes again and memorized the shape of the hollow. May I name it? She asked. Names make pause in my mind. Name it, said the wine guide. Nia looked at the braided roots, the green roof, the moss pillow. Nest of many, she said. The name fit like bark fits a trunk. The wine guide took her to a low dip between two gentle hills. On one side, pines crowded. On the other, blueberry bushes made a blue, polite fence. The dip made the wind curve around them, and sound felt like it traveled above. This is a valley of listening, said the wine guide. It is where thunder sounds far even when it is close. Valleys can be friends to small hearts. May I name it too? Nia asked. If you do, said the wine guide, you will begin to own the map in your bones. Nia thought of how the air sat here the way a blanket sits on a sleeping back. Whisper belly, she decided. She smiled when the wine guide hummed approval. They practiced moving between nest of many and whisper belly and the good, crowded side of the pine ridge. Not in a rush, but not idling. Nia learned to place her hooves trusting the path, but checking the ground. The way a dancer checks the floor and then jumps dot by late morning, clouds gathered like sheep. Not dark yet, just more and more. The sunlight turned from lemon to pearl. Somewhere, far behind the hills, a cart rolled a low rumble that could be thunder practicing. Tallo's ears appeared in the mint like to bookmarks. Is the drum class starting? He asked. Rain school, Nia said. Would you like to attend? I nap best in class, he said solemnly, and then grinned. He hopped beside them anyway. Irro, the old owl, floated down from his library branch and settled on a lower limb, where even a fawn could see him. He said, which meant he was ready to teach something. The wine guide told me you would lend me a storm song. Nia said shyly. A rhythm, said Irro. A hard pocket for your mind to keep its keys in. He tapped the bark with his beak, slow and even. Listen, low rest. Low rest. When the storm speaks, you keep this beat quietly in your chest. Not to silence the storm, to give your thoughts a place to sit while they watch. Nia tried it. Low rest. She breathed to it, the way one breathes to a lullaby. Her hooves found it too. Right left pause. Right left pause. Tallo twitched his foot in time, then pretended he had meant to. The clouds stacked. A tall white tower leaned into a darker shelf. The air's iron stone smell strengthened. Lodo climbed onto a flat rock, as if it were a stage, and announced to careful croaks. Storm, said Irro. Polite one, perhaps. Practice your counting rope. Nia did not wait for fear to pick the tune. She made her for quiet's first feet folded, breath smoothing, eyes resting on a dewdrop, mind listening for the between. The sky stitched a bright seam thin, quick. Nia counted. 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 rumble. It rolled like a wheel on far boards. Far, she told her fear kindly. Heard near, pine many. She peeked toward her mother and saw her grazing steadily. Air cups turned to the sky now, and then, calm as a hill. The wine guide brushed Nia's cheek. We had one more lesson, it said. It is called naming the helpers. Helpers? Nia asked. When fear gets large, said the wine guide, it makes the world feel empty. But storms come with a team. Name them. Rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. Many branch roof shares sky. Herd shares steadiness. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. Name them. And the emptiness shrinks. Nia whispered, rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. The words were smooth stones she could step on. Many branch roof shares sky. Herd shares steadiness. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. Very good, said Irro. Add one more helper. You remain. Me? Nia blinked. You who count, said Irro. You who breathe. You who choose where to stand. You are one of your own helpers. Nia's chest felt wider. The next flash came, a little thicker, and the count was shorter one. 2, then thunder arrived. A bull sound turned upside down. Nia startled, but kept her rhythm. Lolo rest. She pictured the map between nest of many and whisper belly and the herd. She did not run. She walked to the best place for now, the many branch roof. Tallo hopped like a comma at her heels. Rain began as a fur of mist, then threads, then strings. It tuned the pine needles and drummed on the blueberry leaves. The world softened into a large, kind hush with deep breaths inside it. Under the many branch roof, the ground was drier. Drops broke into pearls at the door. The wind did not push. It massaged. Nia and Tallo settled. Irro hunched like a thoughtful statue. The wine guide made slow circles, keeping the leaves speaking softly, rather than shouting. Lightning stitched again. Nia counted 1 breath, 2 breath, and thunder laid its hand on the hill. Not a slap, not a shove, just a big palm that said, I am here too. She named the helpers again. Rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. Many branch roof shares sky. Herd shares steadiness. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. I remain. A small herd of yearlings drifted close, their ears half curled like question marks. One of them, a shy buck with dots still bright on his coat, trembled. Come, Nia said softly, surprising herself. Breathe like the brook. She showed him in small river. Out small river. He copied her, shaking, then less. Watch the drop at the door, she said, and pointed with her nose to a bead that clung, brave and bright. Hear the space between rumble and rumble. Is this a school? He asked in a thin voice. Rain school, Nia said, and her fear looked at her as if it were learning to. The storm wandered across the ridge, speaking a little louder here, a little softer there. When the loudest clap came sharp and near, as if the sky had stepped on a twig, Nia jumped. Everyone jumped. Even Irro's feathers stirred. Ah, said Irro. The surprise lesson? Nia's heart flew up like a startled lark, then fluttered back. She put her hoof on the earth and found the rope again. Lolo rest. She gathered the helpers. She counted the next flash. The thunder rolled farther. Her breath returned to being a boat, not a leaf. You are teaching your fear how to walk home, the wine guide said. I think it likes the path, Nia said. Cheeks warm, rain cooled. After a while, the storm tired itself with its own song. The threads thinned. The ironstone smell faded to wet leaf and clean bark. Sun found a hole in the gray and poured tea on the world. Tallo shook himself like a scribble. Class dismissed? He asked. Irro blinked both eyes very slowly, which is how owls applaud. You kept the rhythm when the sky forgot its manners, he said. That is the homework completed. Nia stepped out from under the many-branch roof. The meadow steamed like a cup. The brook wore a grin. Lodo slid into the water with a satisfied plop. Lesson taught. Lesson learned. May we make one more lesson? Nia asked the wine guide. One that is mine? What is it called? The wine guide asked. The thank you after, Nia said. After the storm, you look for 3 good things it did. The wine guide glowed the way air glows when a kite rises. Show me. Nia looked. It washed the dust from the leaves, she said first. It filled the brook for fishes And for thirst, she closed her eyes and felt her chest. It gave me a new path inside. Excellent, said the wine guide. Add a fourth when you can. It fed someone far away. Storms travel. What falls here soaks there. Remember you are part of a bigger thirsty circle. Nia nodded. She thought of how the thunder had been frightening and then less. How the counting rope had gone from thin to strong. How Irro's rhythm had become her rhythm. She thought of the shy buck's breath, finding the brook's pace. She thought of her mother's steady flank. They walked back to the herd. Nia's mother touched her forehead. You smell like wet pine and brave, she said. Brave doesn't mean I like the loud, Nia said. Her mother smiled in the dear way, a small closing of the eye that means more than words. Brave means you stay with yourself while the loud visits, she said. Dot as afternoon unfurled. Sun drew steam songs from the meadow. The four quiets felt like a pillow she could carry. The counting rope hung ready on its peg inside her. The rhythm Lolo rest tapped its patient foot somewhere by her ribs. When evening folded its blue cloth over the trees, a very small rumble rolled across a far ridge, maybe the storm saying good night to its cousins. Nia raised her head. She did not flinch. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before the softest roll arrived, like a memory of a drum heard through a door. Far, she told her fear. Heard near, pine many, I remain. Stars came out of their hiding places and sat on the sky like tiny lamps. The meadow sighed itself to sleep. Nia lay beside her mother and dreamed she was walking through a school made of rain and leaves, where the teacher's chalk was lightning and the bell was thunder, and all the desks were moss. On the blackboard it said, feet quiet, breath quiet, eyes quiet, mind quiet, count, name the helpers, keep the rhythm, say the thank you after. When she woke before dawn to the first birds, she felt not bigger, but steadier. The pebble in her chest had become a seed with a small green thought. Tomorrow, she whispered to the wine guide. She could not see, but felt anyway. Teach me the song inside the thunder. Tomorrow, the wine guide answered from the space between leaves. And the leaves, with their small, brave hands, clapped very softly. The morning sky was pale as cream, with long strips of cloud brushing the tops of the pines. Nia woke early, ears flicking at every sound. The storm from yesterday had wandered far away, but in her chest still echoed its drumbeat. She rose from the clover nest where she had slept beside her mother and took a few careful steps toward the brook. Its silver song was calm, but Nia could almost hear thunder hiding beneath it like a low drum waiting to be struck again. She wanted to know more. She wanted to understand thunder so well that it would no longer startle her legs into jumping. The pebble of fear had turned into a seed, but seeds needed tending, and she wanted hers to grow into courage. The wine guide slid by her side, smelling of cool stone and sweet fern. Today, it said, you will learn the drum of the hills. What is the drum of the hills? Nia asked softly. The way thunder moves when it touches the land, the wine guide replied. It rolls, it echoes, it tells distance and depth. If you learn its language, the sound will no longer be a stranger. Nia's ears twitched. Then teach me, she whispered, though her legs quivered already. Just thinking about the booming voice of the sky, they set off together, the wine guide making the clover bow as they passed. The meadow shimmered with dew, and dragonflies darted between reeds like living jewels. Tallo the hare hopped up from his mid-patch, chewing something green. Going to class again? He asked. Drum of the hills, Nia said, lifting her chin. Tallo blinked. Sounds noisy. I'll come. He bounded beside her, ears bouncing like exclamation marks. Irro the owl joined too, silent as thought, settling on a pine branch to listen. The herd grazed not far away, their calm presence like anchors in the green sea of the meadow. Nia felt steadier knowing they were near. The first hill they climbed was gentle, covered with soft moss and sprinkled with mushrooms that looked like little umbrellas. At the top, The wine guide whispered, "Listen here." The air was still. Only bees hummed. Then, from far away, the sky lit briefly, a silver thread hidden behind thickening clouds. Nia counted 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breath, 4, 5, then the thunder rolled in. But it sounded different on the hilltop, spreading wide and even, as if the land had smoothed its edges. "This is hilltop drum," said the wine guide. "When you stand high, thunder sounds broad. It teaches you that the world is wide, and sound must travel to reach you." Nia pressed her hooves into the moss. The thunder had frightened her, but less than before. She whispered to herself, "Far, wide, I remain." They descended into a small valley, cradled between 2 ridges. The air felt heavier, and the brook there sang deeper, like a low flute. When lightning flashed again, Nia counted 1, 2, 3. Thunder tumbled in quickly, bouncing between the slopes. The sound was louder, closer, trapped. Nia flinched and pressed against Tallo. "This is valley drum," said the wine guide. "Here thunder sounds bigger, not because it is nearer, but because the land holds it and bounces it back. Do not mistake echo for closeness." Irro nodded gravely. "Many fear echoes as if they are the voice itself, but echoes are only memories of sound." Nia tried to steady her breath. She whispered the helpers. "Rain feeds brook, brook feeds root, root holds hill, herd steadies, wine guide stays, owl watches, hare jokes, mother warms, I remain." Slowly her chest loosened, and she dared another look at the sky. "It is echo," she reminded herself. "Not a claw, just a bounce." They climbed to another ridge where pines stood thick, their crowns tangled. Here the sound of the storm was muffled. When lightning split the clouds, Nia counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and thunder came but softer, hushed by the trees. It was like a drum wrapped in cloth. "This is forest drum," said the wine guide. "Branches share the sound, breaking it into gentler pieces. Forest teaches that big things can be softened by many shoulders." Nia pressed her cheek against a pine trunk and whispered, "Thank you." The bark was rough, but steady. The storm grew stronger now. Rain began to stitch the sky, falling in cool threads. Drops struck leaves, grass, and earth with a music of their own. Nia felt her fear rising again, but she remembered her rope of counting, her for quiets, her rhythm. She folded her legs for a moment, feet quiet. She breathed like the brook in small river, out small river. She chose a raindrop on a leaf for her eyes. She listened to the space between the roll of thunder. Slowly, the fear turned into focus. Tallo tried hopping through puddles. "Valley drum is scary, but puddle drums are fun," he shouted, splashing water. Nia laughed despite herself. The laugh loosened her chest more than counting did. Irro blinked his lantern eyes. "Laughter is also a map. Never forget that." The wine guide led them to a cave at the side of the hill, a shallow shelter carved into stone. Rain fell at the entrance, but inside it was dry. The sound of thunder here was deep, rolling, echoing again and again. It sounded like a great drum beaten inside a cavern. "This is cave drum," said the wine guide. "It can feel frightening, for the stone multiplies the sound. But listen closely. Within the echoes, you can hear layers of first strike. The echoes echo. When you separate them, you see thunder is not endless. It fades, like footsteps down a hall." Nia closed her eyes and tried. At first, it was all noise, thick and heavy. But then she heard it the first clap, then the roll, then the softer roll, then fading, like waves leaving the shore. "It ends," she whispered. "It always ends." "That is the truth many forget," said Irro. "Every storm has an end. Fear says forever. Knowledge says soon." Rain thickened outside, and lightning cracked close. The thunder leapt into the cave so loud that Nia startled hard, almost stumbling. But she clung to her rhythm. "Lolo rest." She whispered her helpers. She reminded herself. Wide, echo, softened, layered, ending. The words became stones under her hooves. She was still afraid, But she was not lost. After a while, the storm began to wander again. The rain softened to mist, and the thunder walked away like a giant leaving the valley. Nia stepped out of the cave, her legs shaky, but proud. The world smelled of clean bark and washed stone. A rainbow arched faintly over the meadow. Shy and gentle, "You have learned the drum of the hills," said the wine guide. "You know its shapes now. Wide on the hill, echo in the valley, softened in the forest, layered in the cave. When thunder comes again, you can name its drum. Naming gives you ground." Nia lifted her face to the rainbow. "I am still afraid," she admitted, "but I am also listening, and listening makes it less scary." Her mother approached, brushing her cheek against Nia's. "Every deer carries a pebble of fear. What matters is whether you let it stay a pebble or grow into a path. You are growing yours into a path." Nia leaned against her mother's warmth. The herd gathered close, and Tallo shook out his wet fur. Irro hooted once, low and steady. The wine guide brushed past, carrying the scent of pine and rain. And Nia thought, maybe thunder is not a monster after all. Maybe it is only a drum, and maybe someday she would dance to its beat instead of trembling. She looked at the sky, now pale again, and whispered her new truth. Every storm has an end. The meadow was green again, washed bright by the rain. Drops still clung to the tips of grass like tiny lanterns, and the brook hummed louder, its body swollen with gifts from the clouds. Nia trotted to the center of the clearing, her small hooves drumming lightly on the damp soil. She carried her pebble seed of fear carefully, but something new was sprouting inside it. Curiosity. The wine guide circled her in a ribbon of cool air. "You have listened to thunder's many drums, but now you must learn the thunder dance." "Dance?" Nia's ears flicked. "Thunder doesn't dance. It stomps, it rolls, it leaps, it whispers," the wine guide replied. "Dance is not only twirling hooves. Dance is how a body meets rhythm without losing itself." Nia thought of Irro's rhythm, low rest. She thought of her rope of counting, of her for quiets, of her helpers. They were all steps of a kind. "Show me," she said. The sky was pale but restless. Clouds gathered, long gray scarves pulled by unseen hands. The air smelled of wet stone and clover. Somewhere beyond the ridge, a cart rumbled. Or maybe it was the storm announcing itself. Tallo bounded from the mint patch, his ears flopping like banners. "Did someone say dance?" he chirped. "I'm the best dancer in the meadow. Watch." He hopped in a zigzag, spun, and tumbled into a patch of moss, laughing at his own fall. "See?" said the wine guide. "Even clumsy steps can be dance if joy keeps the beat." Irro landed on a low branch, feathers puffed against the damp. "Thunder dance is more than joy," he said in his slow voice. "It is trust and rhythm when fear tries to lead. Learn it, and storms will not chase you out of yourself." The first flash stitched the sky, a silver thread across gray. Nia counted 1, 2, 3. Thunder rolled in, round and full. Her legs trembled, but she remembered. Feet quiet. She pressed her hooves into the damp soil and felt it answer. Breath quiet, in small river, out small river. Eyes quiet, she fixed on a dew bead, balancing on a bent reed. Mind quiet, she listened for the space. Then she whispered the rhythm, low rest. Her heart tapped it, her hooves wanted to follow. Dance with it, urged the wine guide. Not against, not away. With, Nia lowered her head, took 3 small steps forward in time with her heart. Thunder rolled again, and she moved her body sideways, as if swaying with the sound. The rain began to fall, light at first, tapping her back like soft paws. She let the drops set the tempo. Step rest. Her body loosened. Fear still tickled her chest, but alongside it came something else. Play. Tallo hopped beside her, imitating her steps. Left, right, pause. He sang. Left, right, splash. He leapt into a puddle and sent water flying. Nia laughed, and the laugh became part of her dance. Another flash lit the meadow, brighter this time. Nia counted 1, 2, then thunder cracked sharper. She startled, But instead of freezing, she stamped her hooves. The ground thudded back. She stamped again, louder. Her heart shouted, I am here to. Irro hooted approval. Yes, answer without anger. Reply with presence. The rain thickened, drumming on leaves and soil. The brook clapped in silver. The whole meadow seemed to join. Nia leapt, landed, spun halfway, and leapt again. Her legs, once stiff with fear, now stretched long, graceful. She felt like the storm was not chasing her, it was playing music for her. She was not its prey. She was its partner. Her mother approached with a herd, their ears tall, eyes calm. They watched without judgment, their hooves steady in the mud. A few yearlings even copied Nia, taking careful steps in rhythm. The herd's calmness mixed with her dance like bass under a melody. Lightning flashed again, fierce and near. Nia's chest jumped, but her body stamped, spun, stamped. She threw her fear into the rhythm. Thunder crashed, but she met it with motion, not flight. Her hooves became drums, her breath the flute, her heart the violin. Together they made a storm symphony. Rain poured harder. Nia lifted her face to it. Drops streaked down her cheeks like silver tears. But they were not sad tears. They were shining, joyful. She moved through the meadow. Steps strong, body loose, fear smaller now than the rhythm she held. The wine guide circled faster, guiding her turns, carrying the scent of pine and wild mint. Tallo sang nonsense songs, his paws splashing everywhere. Irro beat time with his wings. Even the brook seemed to raise its pitch. The meadow was alive with music, and Nia was its dancer. At last, the storm began to tire. The rain softened, the lightning lessened, the thunder rolled farther, quieter. Nia slowed her steps, breathing hard, chest heaving, but smiling. She ended with a final stamp, her hooves sinking into wet soil. She stood tall, ears high. You danced with thunder, said the wine guide, voice warm, and you remained yourself. Nia's mother brushed her cheek. Your legs remember fear, but they also remember strength. Now they remember both. Irro blinked slowly. Dance is practice for living. Storms will come, fear will come, but now you know how to move with them. Not only against. Tallo flopped onto his side, panting. Best class ever, he wheezed. 10 out of 10 puddles. Nia laughed again, and this time the laugh was light, free. The pebble in her chest was almost gone. In its place grew a young sapling of courage, thin but rooted. She looked up at the clearing sky and whispered to herself, thunder is a drum, and I know its dance. The meadow gleamed, wet and fresh. The rainbow returned, brighter, fuller. Nia stamped once, softly, in thanks. The next morning, the meadow smelled of fresh rain and moss. The storm had left behind puddles that reflected the sky like tiny mirrors. Nia leaned over one puddle and saw her own face, wide-eyed and speckled with dots that looked like tiny stars. She tilted her head, and the water deer in the puddle tilted back. We are both still here, she whispered. The wine guide brushed past her ears, cool and playful. You danced yesterday. Today you listen deeper. Thunder carries a secret most fawns never learn. Nia's ears twitched. A secret? Yes, the secret of why storms sing. Nia's mother grazed nearby and raised her head. Go with the wine guide, she said. Every lesson makes your heart steadier. So Nia trotted to the pine ridge, Tallo bounding after her, Irro gliding silently above. The sky was clear for now, pale and kind, but the air smelled faintly of iron and clover again. Somewhere, the clouds were gathering stories. They reached a clearing where tall rocks leaned together like old friends whispering. The wine guide swirled through them. Sit here. The rocks will help you listen. Nia folded her legs beneath her, pressing her hooves into the soil. The rocks hummed faintly, as if they remembered 1,000 storms. She felt it in her bones. Double quotes, thunder is not only noise, said the wine guide. It is a message. Lightning splits the sky, and thunder says, here I am. Remember me. But beneath the sound is something older, Irro ruffled his feathers. The sky keeps a drum, but the earth keeps an echo. Together, they speak. Nia closed her eyes. She remembered the wide drum on the hilltop, the echo in the valley, the softened forest drum, the layered cave drum. She remembered her dance. But this lesson felt different. She had to listen beneath Dot. The day grew heavier. Clouds stacked like pillows, their bellies darkening. The air pressed against her fur. Lodo the frog croaked twice from the brook. The storm was on its way. The first flash came like a silver sword. Nia counted 1, 2, 3, 4. The thunder rolled in. But this time, she tried not to hear just the boom. She listened inside it. She heard a low rumble. Yes, but also a hiss, a crackle, a fading roll. It was not one voice, but many. "What do you hear?" asked the wine guide. Nia hesitated. "I hear layers." A clap, then a roll, then a hush. "Good," said the wine guide. "The sky has many tongues. If you listen well, you will know what it wants." The rain began, soft fingers tapping the rocks. Nia breathed in small river, out small river. Another flash, closer. She counted 1, 2, 3. Thunder clapped, sharper this time, bouncing between the rocks. She pressed her hooves down. Inside the clap, she heard a crackle like a branch snapping. "The crackle is the sky splitting," explained the wine guide. "It is power moving faster than your eyes can follow. But remember, power does not mean harm. It means energy." Nia thought of how she had feared thunder as a monster. Now she tried to hear it as energy, as a story told too loudly, but not unkindly. Another flash. She counted 1, 2. Thunder struck, loud enough to make her chest quiver. She almost jumped, but she stayed. Inside the sound, she heard something new, a deep, steady boom, as if the earth itself had answered. "What is that?" she whispered. Dot, Owl Irro blinked. "That is ground thunder, the earth returning the sky's call. Even storms must speak in pairs." Nia's fear softened. "So thunder isn't shouting at me, it's talking to the ground?" "Yes," said the wine guide. "And you are only listening. You are not its target. You are its witness." The storm thickened. Rain poured harder, drumming on leaves and rocks. Lightning stitched the sky. Nia counted 1, 2, then thunder exploded, so loud her ears rang. She flinched, but she kept breathing. Inside the roar, she tried to find the secret. She closed her eyes and leaned into the sound. She heard the crackle of lightning's path, the clap of air rushing shut, the roll across the hills, the echo in the valley, the earth's low reply. It was a conversation, not an attack. Sky speaking, earth answering, storm explaining. Her heart slowed. She whispered, "They are only talking, and I am only listening." The wine guide brushed her cheek. "Yes, the secret is that thunder is never alone. It is always part of a conversation. And if you know that, you need not fear being singled out." Tallo tried to mimic the sound, thumping his feet on the moss. Boom, crackle, roll. He shouted. Nia laughed, the laugh chasing away the last tremor in her legs. The storm moved on, leaving softer rain and gray light. The rocks glistened, humming gently. Nia stood, taller somehow. Her mother met her at the meadow's edge. "What did you learn, little one?" "That thunder is not shouting at me," Nia said. "It is talking to the ground, and I am listening." Her mother touched her nose to Nia's. "Then you have learned the sky's secret." That night, when darkness folded the world and stars blinked awake, Nia lay in the clover. Far away, a faint flash stitched the horizon. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before the softest rumble reached her ears. Instead of trembling, she smiled. "They're only talking," she whispered to herself. "And I remain." The meadow had dried under a gentle sun, yet the smell of wet bark still lingered in the air, like a memory that refused to leave. Nia woke with her pebble seed of fear now sprouting tender leaves. Each lesson had watered it. The 4 quiets, the counting rope, the helpers, the drum of the hills, the thunder dance, and the sky's secret. Still, She sensed there was more to learn, something hidden deeper than sound. The wine guide drifted toward her, carrying the cool scent of dawn. Today, it said, you face the storm's mirror. Nia tilted her head. Mirror. Yes, said the wine guide. Storms do not only speak to earth, they speak to hearts. A storm can show you yourself, your strength, your trembling, your truth. Irro glided down from his pine branch, eyes glowing like two lanterns. The mirror is the hardest lesson. Not every deer dares to look. Tallo flopped from the mint patch, shaking dew from his ears. A mirror. Sounds silly. I look in puddles all the time. I'm always handsome. He puffed his chest, then tripped over a root and landed in a bush. Nia giggled despite her nervousness. They set out together toward the wide meadow's heart, where the grass swayed like a sea. The sky was restless, clouds stretching long gray arms. The smell of iron returned, sharp as a warning. Lodo croaked from his rock. Low and steady. The wine guide whispered. Here, in the open, the storm cannot be softened by trees or caves. You will meet it without walls. It will show you yourself. Nia's legs trembled. She remembered the valley's echo, the cave's layers, the forest's hush. None of those would be here. She would have only her breath, her helpers, her rhythm. The first flash tore across the sky. She counted 1, 2, 3. Thunder struck, huge and rolling, shaking the meadow. Fear jolted her chest, but she pressed her hooves down, feet quiet. She breathed the brook in small river, out small river. She fixed her eyes on a wildflower trembling, but unbroken. She listened to the space. Another flash closer. 1, 2. Thunder slammed down, so loud she stumbled. Her heart raced, her breath scattered. She wanted to run, to hide, to burrow into the earth. But she remembered, I remain. She whispered her helpers. Rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. Herd steadies. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. I remain. The storm answered with lightning that lit the whole meadow white. Thunder cracked like a tree splitting. Nia cried out, who's skidding? For a moment, fear swallowed her whole. She could not breathe. She could not stand. Then she saw her reflection in a puddle at her hooves. Not a calm, steady fawn. Not a dancer. A trembling, wide-eyed creature. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. That is me, she whispered. Afraid? Yes, said the wine guide softly. That is your mirror. Do not turn away. She looked again. The puddle showed her body shaking, ears flat, eyes frightened. But as the rain struck the surface, ripples came, and the trembling image wavered. In those ripples, she saw something else. The dancer leaping in rain, the listener hearing the sky's secret, the brave one naming helpers. All of them were her. Fear and courage both. Irro's voice was deep. The mirror does not lie. You are both. To be brave is not to erase fear. It is to carry it and still stand. Lightning cracked again. She counted 1. Thunder slammed almost instantly, fierce and overwhelming. Her legs wanted to fold, but she pressed into the ground, stamped once, twice, then whispered, I remain. Her reflection wavered, but did not vanish. She was still there, trembling and steady at once. The rain poured harder, thick threads drumming the meadow. The puddle swelled, her reflection breaking into many. In each she saw a different self. The small fawn hiding under her mother, the one naming helpers to another yearling, the one dancing, the one crying, the one standing tall. Which one is true? She gasped. All of them, said the wine guide. The storm shows you your whole self. You are not only your fear. You are not only your courage. You are the one who carries both. Nia's tears blended with the rain. She breathed, shaky but strong. I carry both. She stamped her hoof, sending ripples across the puddle. The trembling fawn and the dancing fawn merged into one image, one self. The thunder rolled again. But now she heard it differently. Not as a monster, not as only a drum, but as a mirror. Loud, yes. Frightening, yes. But also showing her what lived inside. Fear, strength, and the choice to remain. She stood straighter. Rain ran down her back, soaking her coat, but her heart felt taller. She whispered, "I see myself." Her mother approached, the herd behind her. They had been watching silently, letting her face the storm alone. Her mother touched her forehead gently. "And what do you see?" "I see fear," Nia said. "And I see courage. And I see that they can live together. That I do not have to wait for fear to vanish before I can be brave." Her mother's eyes shone with pride. "Then you have seen the storm's mirror." The rain softened. The thunder grew distant. The puddles cleared, showing a calmer reflection. Nia looked once more and saw only herself, breathing steady, hooves planted, eyes wide but clear. The wine guide swirled around her. "The mirror is the hardest lesson. You looked. You did not turn away. You remain." Tallo hopped up, dripping wet. Moss stuck to his ears. "I saw my reflection too," he said. "I look hilarious in storms." He shook himself, sending drops everywhere. Nia laughed, and the laugh felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Irro hooted once, slow and solemn. "Now you are ready for the rest of the sky's lessons. But never forget this one. Fear is not the enemy. Forgetting you remain, that is the danger." Nia lifted her head to the clearing sky. A rainbow stretched faint across the horizon, fragile and glowing. She stamped once, softly. "I remain." Asterisk, the meadow woke to a soft dawn. Mist curled over the brook, silver ribbons drifting between reeds. Nia stepped carefully, her hooves leaving dark prints in the dew. She still carried the memory of the storm's mirror, her reflection trembling and steady all at once. It had frightened her, but it had also freed her. She no longer believed she had to banish fear before courage could grow. She understood now that fear and courage walk side by side. The wine guide appeared, carrying the scent of wet pine. "Today, you will learn the storm song," it said. "Song?" Nia's ears flicked. "I thought thunder was only drum." "Thunder is drum," said the wine guide. "Rain is rhythm. Wind is breath. Lightning is light you cannot hold. But together, they make song. If you hear the song, you will never be lost in noise." Irro glided down from the ridge, feathers glowing faintly in the new sun. "Storm song is a pattern. Learn it, and you may one day sing back." Tallo popped up from the mint patch, chewing as usual. "I already sing in storms," he boasted, then brayed a squeaky tune that made Nia giggle. "See, professional." The sky above was pale, but clouds already gathered on the horizon, tall and gray. The air smelled sharp, like iron and stone. Lodo croaked twice from his rock, his signal that weather was changing. Nia's chest fluttered, but she pressed her hooves down. Feet quiet, breath quiet, eyes quiet, mind quiet. They climbed the hilltop where thunder rolled wide. From here, the meadow stretched like a green quilt, and the brook shimmered like a silver thread. Nia felt small, but steady. She waited, ears pricked. The first flash came faint, far away. Nia counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The thunder arrived, low and long. She listened past the sound. Beneath the boom, rain had not yet come, but the wind carried whispers. The sky hummed faintly, as if tuning. "What do you hear?" asked the wine guide. Nia closed her eyes. "I hear the drum waiting. I hear the wind beginning." "Good," said the wine guide. "The song begins before you notice." The clouds drew nearer, their bellies dark. Lightning tore across the horizon, bright and sharp. 1, 2, 3. Thunder followed, rolling round and deep. This time rain tapped the leaves. Tap, tap, tap. A rhythm began. Wine pushed harder, whistling through reeds. Nia's ears caught each piece. Drum, rhythm, breath, light. Together, they formed something larger. Another flash one. 2 thunder boomed, shaking the hill. Rain thickened, drumming on soil, splashing puddles. Wine whirled, pulling Nia's fur. She listened hard. Beneath the roar, she heard a pattern. Clap, roll, hush. Clap, roll, hush. It repeated, steady, like a song too large for words. "I hear it," she gasped. "The storm is singing." "Yes," said the wine guide. Now you must answer. Answer? Nia blinked. How can a fawn answer thunder? With your own song, said Irro. Not as loud, not as bright, but true. Your hooves, your breath, your heart they can answer. Nia trembled. The next flash blinded her eyes. 1, 2. Thunder crashed, sharp and fierce. Her chest jolted, but instead of shrinking, she stamped her hooves twice, then breathed a long exhale, and whispered, I remain. Her body made rhythm, her breath made tone. It was not thunder, but it was her. The wine guide swirled around her. Again. Lightning flashed. 1, 2, 3. Thunder rolled, heavy. Nia stamped once, twice. She lifted her head and called, not loud, but steady, I remain. Her voice was swallowed by storm, yet she felt it join, like a small flute in an orchestra. Tallo copied her, stamping with his hind legs, squeaking, I remain too. His silly voice made Nia laugh, and the laugh joined the rain's rhythm. Irro beat his wings slowly, marking time. The storm surged, louder, pouring rain, rolling thunder. But now Nia was not lost. She held the pattern. Drum roll hush, stamp stamp breath, drum roll hush, stamp stamp breath. Her body swayed, not from fear, but from rhythm. She was part of the song. The thunder cracked close, so sharp it rattled her bones. Nia jumped, but instead of crumpling, she leapt high. When she landed, her hooves struck the earth like a drum. She shouted, I remain. The storm answered with its roll, and she felt for the first time that she and thunder were not enemies, but partners. Rain soaked her, cold and heavy, but she lifted her face, eyes wide, mouth open. She let a cry escape, a long, clear sound that rose above the meadow. It was not loud like thunder, but it was hers. The sound vibrated in her chest, poured into the rain, into the wind. For a moment she felt the storm listening. The wine guide whispered, You are part of the song now. The thunder rolled again, but it sounded different to her ears, less frightening. More like a chorus she belonged to. Her legs no longer shook, her chest no longer closed. She stamped, breathed, sang her small note, and the storm folded it into its music. At last, the storm began to wander away. The rain softened. The thunder grew distant. The lightning dimmed. Nia stood on the hilltop, drenched but steady. Her breath came hard, but her heart was calm. She had sung with the storm. Her mother climbed the hill and brushed her cheek. You sang, she said softly. I sang, Nia whispered back. And it heard me. Irro blinked, his lantern eyes proud. Storm song is not about volume. It is about belonging. You belong now. Tallo flopped in a puddle, splashing. Best concert ever. 5 stars. Nia laughed again, light and free. She lifted her face to the clearing sky, where faint blue broke through gray. A rainbow arched, glowing brighter than before. She whispered, I remain, and I sing. The meadow was quiet after the night song. Mist clung low over the brook, and the grass glittered with beads of silver dew. Nia walked slowly, her hooves leaving prints in the damp soil. Each step felt heavier, not with fear, but with wonder. She had sung with the storm. The sound of her own voice still echoed in her chest like a hidden flame. The wine guide drifted beside her. Soft as a sigh, you have listened, danced, and sung. Today you learn to see. Thunder you have faced. Now lightning will teach. Nia's ears flicked nervously. Lightning had always frightened her more than thunder. Thunder was sound loud, but explainable. Lightning was light sharp, sudden, unpredictable. It tore the sky without warning. It was beautiful, but terrifying. Irro glided down from his pine perch, eyes glowing with morning lantern light. Lightning is the storm's handwriting, he said. It writes across the sky. To read it, you must not close your eyes. Tallo bounded over, chewing a stalk of mint. I once tried to catch lightning, he bragged. Ran really fast. Almost got it. He wiggled his whiskers proudly. Nia laughed despite her nerves. Tallo was always the meadow's clown. The sky above was pale, but the horizon already carried a faint bruise of gray. The smell of iron prickled Nia's nose. Lodo croaked from his rock, a low, steady note. The air grew heavy. The storm was coming again. The wine guide led Nia to the ridge where the meadow met the forest. Here, you will have wide sky and safe shelter near. You will learn to see lightning not as attack, but as path. What kind of path? Nia asked softly. The path of energy, said the wine guide. The fastest traveler in the sky. It shows where clouds and earth meet. If you see its path, you will know where not to stand, and you will know that it is not random chaos, but a map. The clouds thickened, heavy and dark. The first flash came faint, far away. Nia flinched, but she forced her eyes to remain open. A thin silver thread stitched the horizon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thunder rolled, round and long. Describe it, said the wine guide. Nia hesitated. It was crooked, like a branch. It bent and turned before it vanished. Good, said the wine guide. Lightning is never straight. It searches for the easiest path. It forks, it bends, it chooses. That is why we do not stand alone in open fields or under lonely tall trees. We let many branches share the sky's notice. We let hills and forests guide the path away. Another flash lit the sky. Closer. 1, 2, 3. Thunder followed, louder. Nia's chest jumped, but she breathed a brook breath. In small river, out small river. She kept her eyes open. This flash was brighter, jagged, splitting into forks before vanishing. What do you see? Asked Irro. It looked like roots, Nia said, surprised. Roots turned upside down, reaching for the ground. Irro nodded slowly. Yes. Lightning is the sky rooting itself in the earth. Every flash is the sky remembering its connection. Nia's fear softened a little. So it isn't random. It's returning. Exactly, said the wine guide. And thunder is the sound of the sky closing the door after lightning has passed. The rain began. Light at first, then heavier, drumming on leaves. The storm grew stronger. A flash split the sky directly above. White and fierce. The world turned bright as day for an instant. Nia gasped, nearly closing her eyes, but she forced them open. The lightning forked, bent, and struck beyond the ridge. Thunder cracked almost instantly, shaking the ground. Her legs shook, but she pressed her hooves down. I saw it, she whispered. It split, it bent, it struck there, not here. It was choosing. Yes, said the wine guide. And now you know it is not hunting you. It is following the paths nature offers. Another flash came, even closer. The air itself seemed to shiver. Nia flinched, but she watched. The light darted like a silver river, splitting, branching, racing down. She stamped once, steadying herself. It is fast, she gasped. Faster than breath. But still, it chooses. Thunder slammed, loud and hard. Nia stumbled, but she remembered the storm's mirror. She looked into a puddle nearby. Her reflection trembled, but it also stood. She whispered, I remain. The rain poured harder now. Lightning flashed again, and again. Bright, jagged, fierce. Nia forced herself to keep watching. Each time she saw the forks, the branches, the paths, she whispered them like lessons. Crooked, bent, searching, returning. Slowly, her fear shifted. The light no longer felt like an attack. It felt like a message written too fast for most eyes. But she was learning to read. Tallo hopped nervously under a bush, squeaking. It's so bright, too bright, my whiskers might catch fire. Nia giggled, and the giggle loosened her chest again. Irro hooted low. Laughter is light you make yourself. Remember that. At last, the storm began to drift, its flashes growing fainter, its thunder rolling farther. The rain softened, dripping from leaves and silver threads. The air smelled clean, like washed stone. Nia stood tall, soaked but steady. Her eyes were wide, not from fear, but from wonder. Lightning is not chaos, she said softly. It is a path, a route turned upside down, a connection. Her mother approached, her eyes gentle. And what do you see now? I see that it is not hunting me, Nia said. It is returning to the earth. I only need to stand in safe places and watch. I remain. Her mother brushed her cheek. Then you have learned the lightning's path. The wine guide swirled once, carrying the last drops of rain away. You have looked at thunder's mirror. You have listened to the storm's song. And now you have read the lightning's path. Few fawns learn so much so soon. Nia lifted her head to the clearing sky, where faint blue peeked through the gray. A rainbow arched again, brighter than before. She whispered, I remain. And I see, the day began with sunlight, warm and golden, spilling across the meadow like honey. Nia woke in the clover, her mother close by, the herd grazing in calm rhythm. The brook sang its silver tune. Dragonflies darted, and for a little while, the world felt simple. Yet in her chest, she carried a new readiness. The thunder no longer haunted her dreams. Instead, it lived there as a teacher, waiting for class to begin. She had seen the mirror, sung with the storm, and traced lightning's path. But the wine guide had promised there was still more to learn. By mid-morning, the sky shifted. Wisps of white clouds stretched, then gathered, thickening into gray. The sunlight dimmed, softening to pewter. Birds quieted. Even the grass seemed to hold its breath. Nia noticed before anyone else, her ears twitching to the silence. The wine guide stirred, cool and serious. Today you learn the lesson of the gathering clouds. Thunder is loud, lightning is bright, but the storm begins here, in the waiting. If you learn to read the waiting, you will not be surprised. You will meet storms before they arrive. Nia's eyes widened. You mean, I can know a storm is coming, even without thunder? Yes, said the wine guide. Clouds tell their own story. They gather slowly, with shape and color. Their silence is a lesson. 2. Irro drifted down from his pine, landing silently on a branch. His lantern eyes scanned the sky. The wise learn to read clouds as they read books. Shapes are letters. Colors are words. Together, they spell weather. Tallo bounded over, chewing mint. I already know clouds. That one looks like a rabbit. That one like a carrot. He wagged his ears proudly. Nia laughed, and the laugh made her chest lighter. Rabbit clouds and carrot clouds are good too, said the wine guide kindly. But look deeper. The clouds thicken above them, darker at the belly, heavy. A hush spread across the meadow. Even the brook seemed to sing more softly. Do you feel it? Asked the wine guide. Nia nodded. The air is heavy, like when you know someone is about to speak. Yes, said the wine guide. That heaviness is the air preparing to release rain. That silence is a world bracing for sound. When you notice these things, you know a storm is near. Nia lifted her face. The air smelled of iron and wet stone. A shiver passed through her. It feels like waiting. Irro blinked. That is why it is called the gathering clouds. Storms are not only sound and light. They are also pause. The pause teaches patience. The first faint flash stitched the horizon. Nia counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thunder rolled softly, distant. She breathed in small river, out small river. She did not flinch. She was ready. Now, said the wine guide, you will learn to walk with the waiting. Not run, not hide. Walk steady, so that when thunder comes, it is only another step. The rain had not yet begun. The clouds pressed closer, their gray deepening to blue-black. Birds darted to nests. Lodo croaked from his rock. The air felt full of held breath. Nia pressed her hooves down. Feet quiet. She moved one step, then another, breathing slow. Each step matched her heart. Lightning flashed again. Closer. 1, 2, 3. Thunder rolled. Louder. Nia paused. Steady. She whispered her helpers. Rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. Herd steadies. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. I remain. The words anchored her like stones under a river. Tallo hopped beside her, ears twitching. It's like a game. Step. Wait. Boom. Step. Wait. Boom. He leapt dramatically. Nia giggled, and the giggle wove into the hush. The first drops fell, soft and cool. They spotted her back, kissed her ears. Then more came, threads and strings. The brook began to swell. The meadow's silence broke into the gentle percussion of rain. Now the waiting is ending, said the wine guide. You have walked steady through it. That is a lesson many forget. They panic before storms arrive. You have learned to breathe in the pause. Thunder cracked again. Close now. Nia startled, but only a little. She stamped once, twice, keeping her rhythm. She lifted her head, eyes open. She was not caught off guard. She had read the clouds, smelled the iron, felt the pause. The storm was no longer a surprise. It was a story she had seen coming. Lightning split the sky, bright and jagged. 1, 2. Thunder followed instantly, fierce and sharp. Fear leapt in her chest, but she pressed her hooves down, breathed deep, whispered, I remain. Her voice trembled, but it was there. Irro hooted approval. Knowledge is courage. You knew the storm before it arrived. That makes you steadier. The rain poured harder now, filling puddles, drumming the meadow. The herd moved to shelter, but Nia lingered, watching. The gathering clouds had taught her that storms were not sudden monsters. They were long stories, beginning with silence and pause. And she could read the beginning now. She stamped softly, whispering, I saw you coming. I remain. Asterisk the storm that followed the gathering clouds lasted deep into the night. Rain poured in silver curtains, and thunder spoke in rolling sentences across the hills. Nia slept pressed against her mother's side, beneath the cover of the many-branch roof. Though the storm was loud, she did not shake the way she once had. She breathed slowly, counted flashes, whispered helpers in her dreams. The storm was not an enemy now. It was a teacher telling long stories to those who would listen. By dawn, the storm had drifted away, leaving the meadow drenched and gleaming. Drops clung to every blade of grass, and puddles mirrored the rising sun. Nia rose with stiff legs, but a steady heart. She had faced mirrors, songs, lightning, and clouds. Still, the wine guide promised there was one more lesson waiting. The lesson of the herd. The wine guide swirled in the morning air, carrying the scent of wet pine. Bravery is not only what you do alone, it whispered. Today, you learn how storms are faced together. Irro landed nearby, eyes glowing like two pale lanterns. A lone deer may listen and learn, but a herd teaches another kind of strength. To stand with many is to multiply steadiness. Nia's mother nudged her gently. Come, she said, walk with us today. Feel how fear lessens when hearts beat in chorus. The herd gathered in the meadow's center. Does yearlings and elders. Their coats glistened damp, their ears turned to the breeze. Each deer carried a memory of storms, some older than Nia could imagine. They moved as one body, breathing calm, hooves steady in the mud. The sky, restless again, darkened with new clouds. Nia's ears twitched. She felt the heaviness, smelled the iron. She knew what was coming. The gathering clouds had taught her to read the signs. Her chest fluttered, but she pressed her hooves down. Feet quiet. Lightning flashed far away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thunder rolled, distant but clear. Nia looked around. Not one deer flinched. The herd only turned their ears, acknowledging, then kept grazing. Their calmness was like a wall of strength around her. The rain began as a mist, then threads, then a steady fall. The herd shifted, not panicking, but flowing together toward the Whisper Belly Hollow, where pines crowded like friends. Nia followed, her mother beside her, Tallo hopping in and out of their legs, Irro gliding overhead. Inside the shelter, the herd formed a circle. The rain drummed above, thunder cracked, lightning flashed. Nia counted, breathed, whispered helpers. But this time, she felt something different. Each deer's breath was slow, steady. Each deer's hooves pressed calmly into the ground. Together, their steadiness multiplied, wrapping her like a blanket. Another flash split the sky. 1, 2. Thunder slammed, loud and hard. Nia startled, but before fear could sweep her away, she felt her mother's warmth on one side, her aunt's steady flank on the other. She heard the herd's breathing, dozens of lungs moving in time. She smelled their coats, damp but warm. She realized she was not alone. She never had been. Her chest loosened. She whispered, "I remain, and we remain." The wine guide swirled through the circle, brushing each deer. This is the herd's lesson. Alone, you practice. Together, you share courage. Fear does not vanish, but it cannot grow large when many hooves press the earth. Irro hooted softly. A storm is big, but a herd is many. That is how deer have lived through endless seasons. Lightning flashed again. Closer. 1, 2. Thunder cracked sharp. Nia flinched, but then she looked around. None of the herd ran. None panicked. They only breathed. Their steadiness was hers too. She stamped once, and others stamped with her. Not loud, but enough. Thunder's voice seemed smaller in comparison. The rain poured heavier. The hollow grew dark. Yet Nia felt lighter than ever. The herd's courage moved through her like a river. Her own small bravery was now part of something vast. She whispered her helpers aloud. Rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. Herd steadies. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. I remain. Other deer repeated softly, their voices joining hers. The words wove together, a chorus of steadiness. Thunder rolled again, but it sounded like harmony instead of threat. Tallo hopped into the center, shaking his fur wildly, spraying drops on everyone. See, herd splash party. He shouted. Even the elders twitched their ears in amusement. Laughter rippled through the circle, soft but real. Nia laughed too, and the laugh carried her courage higher. The storm raged on, but inside the herd's circle, it could not break them. The rain hammered, lightning flashed, thunder cracked. Yet they breathed, stamped, whispered, laughed, together. When at last the storm moved away, leaving dripping leaves and fading rolls, Nia felt taller than she ever had. Her mother touched her cheek. What did you learn? That storms are big, Nia said. But herds are many, and courage grows stronger when it is shared. The wine guide whispered, Yes, alone you learn to remain. Together you have learned that we remain. Irro blinked slowly. This is the heart of bravery, not to silence fear, but to hold it together. Nia pressed her hooves into the damp earth. The pebble seed of fear had grown into a sapling with roots deep in her heart. Now it had branches too, reaching out to others. She whispered, I remain, and we remain. The meadow lay quiet after the herd's lesson. Water dripped from pine needles, and the brook gurgled full and satisfied. The air smelled fresh, scrubbed clean by the night's rain. Nia felt stronger than ever, her heart steady like a drum. Yet the wine guide whispered that another trial still waited. You have faced small storms, it said. Now you must meet an elder storm, one that carries the memory of ages. Nia's ears twitched. Elder storm, Irro flapped down from his high perch, eyes glowing like lanterns. Yes, some storms are old. They gather not only clouds, but wisdom. They test not with suddenness, but with endurance. Such storms do not pass quickly. They sit upon the land, reminding even the strong that patience is also courage. Tallo bounded up, his fur still damp. An elder storm? Sounds boring. I like quick booms and splashes. He wiggled his whiskers. Still, I'll come. Someone has to keep spirits high. The herd began to move toward the meadow's wide belly, as if they to sense the change. The sky darkened early, though the sun had not yet climbed high. Gray upon gray stacked like mountains in the sky. The air grew heavy, pressing against fur and skin. Birds vanished into nests. Lodo croaked 3 times, low and long, a warning. The first rumble was deep, slower than usual, like the voice of a mountain itself. Nia pressed her hooves into the earth. Feet quiet, breath quiet, eyes quiet, mind quiet. She whispered her helpers. And the herd pressed close, forming a wide circle under the many-branch roof. Then the rain began. Not sudden threads, not sharp drops, but a long, steady pouring. It was like the sky had opened all at once, emptying rivers. The ground drank quickly, but soon puddles spread. Reflecting flashes of light above Dot, lightning tore across the sky, white and jagged. 1, 2. Thunder followed, deep and long, echoing endlessly. Nia counted, breathing steady. But the thunder didn't fade quickly this time. It rolled and rolled, as if unwilling to leave. "This is the elder storm," murmured the wine guide. "Not quick, not sharp, but heavy. It tests your patience, not only your courage." Nia's chest tightened. She had learned to face sharp cracks, sudden drums, mirrors, and flashes. But this storm was relentless. The rain never paused. The thunder never hurried away. It was like being inside a long song, with no end. Dot at first, she stamped to keep her rhythm. Low rest. She whispered helpers. She laughed at Tallo's antics when he splashed dramatically in puddles. But as the hours stretched, her legs grew tired, her chest weary. The endless thunder gnawed at her steadiness. Her breath wanted to quicken. Fear crept back, whispering, "This will never end." She glanced at her reflection in a puddle. The fawn looked smaller again. Shivering, eyes wide, she whispered desperately, "I remain." Yet the storm boomed on, ignoring her. Her mother pressed against her side. "Patience," she murmured. "Storms grow old too. Endurance is also bravery." Irro blinked, solemn. "Even owls close their eyes sometimes. Rest within the storm. Do not fight its length. Flow with it." Nia folded her legs and lay down, pressing her belly to the damp earth. She breathed in small river. Out small river. The herd lay too. Dozens of bodies steady together. Their breaths joined, making a tide of calm. She listened. The thunder still rolled, but beneath it, she heard the herd's steady chorus of breathing. That rhythm held her. The wine guide brushed her ear. "Good. When storms stretch long. Your task is not to be louder or faster. Your task is to endure, to remain until it passes." This too is courage. Hours passed. Rain soaked her coat, plastering her spots. Thunder rumbled without rest. Yet she did not run. She did not crumble. She remained. Steady with the herd, her breath slow, her body heavy, but calm. The storm could last as long as it wished. She would last to Dot at last. The rain began to soften. The endless roll of thunder grew quieter, like a drum played by an elder whose hands had grown tired. The clouds thinned, breaking into tatters. Pale sunlight pushed through. Weak but gentle Dot, Nia stood slowly, shaking water from her coat. Her legs ached, but her heart was calm. She had not fled, not faltered. She had endured. The wine guide swirled proudly. "You have faced the elder storm. Now you know that courage is not only boldness. It is patience, endurance, and the quiet strength of waiting." Her mother touched her cheek. "You grew taller today." Irro hooted once, solemn. "Bravery has many faces. Yours has learned another." Tallo rolled in the mud, making shapes with his back. "Longest storm ever," he complained, though his grin betrayed mischief. But we made it. Even me. Nia laughed softly. Her voice light despite her weariness. She lifted her face to the pale sky and whispered, I remain. However long, I remain. Asterisk the elder storm passed, leaving the meadow hushed as if the world itself were catching its breath. Drops hung heavy on the pine needles, falling one by one. The brook was swollen, loud and playful, carrying leaves and twigs as if they were tiny boats. The air smelled of wet earth and new beginnings. Nia stepped carefully from the many-branched shelter, her hooves sinking slightly in the softened ground. Her coat was still damp, her legs tired. But her chest felt wide, her breath steady. She had not only faced thunder, lightning, mirrors, songs, and clouds, she had endured the long weight of the elder storm. Inside her, the pebble of fear had grown into a tree with strong roots and many branches. She felt both small and tall at once. The wine guide drifted beside her, carrying the scent of pine and rain. You have walked the full circle of storm lessons, it whispered. Now it is time to see how storms give as much as they take. Nia's ears flicked. Give. But storms only frighten and drench. Irro glided down from his perch, eyes glowing like twin moons. Not so. Storms feed rivers. Rivers feed roots. Roots hold hills. They fill berries, swell leaves, strengthen bark. Without storms, the land would starve. What frightened you has also nourished you. Nia looked around. The meadow gleamed brighter than she had ever seen. Grass stood taller, greener, flowers open wide, drinking light. Even the air seemed washed, sharp and sweet. Her heart stirred. Her mother walked to her side, pressing warm muzzle to her cheek. Bravery is not only standing against storms. It is learning to see their gifts. As if in answer, the sky began to shift. The heavy gray lifted, torn into great windows of blue. Sunlight poured through, striking the wet meadow until it glittered like glass. Then, stretching from one hill to the other, a rainbow arched. Brighter than any before, its colors spilled like paint across the sky. Nia gasped. The sky is smiling? Yes, said the wine guide. This is the storm's thank you. A rainbow is light made gentler by water. It is a reminder that storms leave beauty behind. Tallo bounded up, his fur muddy and his whiskers dripping. He leapt into a puddle and pointed his nose skyward. Look, a bridge, a rabbit bridge. He wiggled his ears. I'll be the first to cross. The herd gathered, watching the arc. Even the oldest deer lifted their heads with quiet reverence. Irro blinked slowly, his solemn eyes reflecting every color. Storms teach the land, and they teach hearts. Now you have seen both. Nia's chest swelled. She whispered her helpers one last time. Rain feeds brook. Brook feeds root. Root holds hill. Herd steadies. Wine guide stays. Owl watches. Hare jokes. Mother warms. I remain. She stamped her hoof gently, sending ripples across a puddle. Her reflection trembled there. Not with fear, but with light. She saw the small fawn who once trembled at the first rumble. She saw the dancer, the singer, the listener, the endurer. She saw herself whole. Lightning no longer haunted her thoughts. Thunder no longer shrank her chest. Fear still whispered. But courage always answered. She had learned patience, rhythm, laughter, song, and silence. She had learned that storms were not enemies, but teachers. Sometimes fierce, sometimes gentle, always necessary. Her mother's voice was warm. What will you do when the next storm comes? Nia lifted her head proudly. I will breathe. I will count. I will listen. I will dance. I will sing. I will endure. I will see its gifts. And I will remember. I remain. The wine guide circled her once, then rose into the brightening sky. Then the lessons are complete. You are no longer the fawn who feared thunder. You are the fawn who walks with storms. Irro fluffed his feathers. Solemn as always. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is living well beside it. You have learned this truth. Tallo bounded in circles, splashing mud everywhere. And, don't forget, courage also looks hilarious when you add puddles. He slipped, rolled, and popped up again, spraying everyone with water. The herd twitched their ears in amusement, and even Nia's mother gave a soft laugh. Nia laughed too, bright and free. The rainbow glowed above, stronger now. A crown stretched across the sky. She felt as if the world itself were clapping gently. The meadow, the brook, the herd, the rainbow, all pulsed with the same truth. Storms would always come. Fear would always whisper. But courage had found a home in her chest, steady as roots. Wide as branches, endless as sky, she whispered once. More. For herself. For the herd. For the storm. For the rainbow. I remain. And somewhere, far off, a last soft rumble answered, not as threat, but as farewell.